Mark Rogers TV back with you, running down the best players in college football entering 2014. We've run down every position on offense and the defensive line. We get to the linebackers, and this was the toughest choice I had to make out of all those positions. A ton of great players have gone to the NFL, including Ryan Shazier at Ohio State. You got C.J. Mosley going to the Baltimore Ravens from Alabama, and of course Anthony Barr at UCLA going to the Minnesota Vikings. But we were left with so many great players as well. I had a list of like 45 linebackers before I got it down to these 10, or I kind of cheated at the 10th position, and we'll get to that in just a minute. All right, at the top of the board, we go to the SEC, and Ramik Wilson of Georgia. He led the Southeastern Conference as a junior in total tackles with 133, 11 tackles for loss. He also had the most tackles in the SEC during conference games with 85, and I think with defensive coordinator Jeremy Pruitt coming from Florida State, he's a teacher, he's an instructor, he's a great communicator, and I think he's going to get to this kid and make him even better. And then also consider that the Bulldogs bring back 10 starters on defense. They've got talent around him and experienced talent around Ramik Wilson, who had to wait his turn behind Alec Ogletree and Jarvis Jones at Florida, but ready to break out with a huge senior season in Athens. All right, at number 2, the last time we saw Stephon Anthony, it was in prime time at the Orange Bowl against Ohio State, and the Clemson linebacker shone huge. He had 11 total tackles plus a key interception in that game. 15 tackles for loss last season. That was third in the ACC. He racked up 86 stops total. Stephon Anthony against Ohio State, again, was a monster and probably made the difference in a 40-35 win. Stephon Anthony plays the run well. At one point, he didn't. Now he plays the run well. He's always been able to rush the passer and wreak havoc in the opponent's backfield with the 15 tackles for loss, and also had about 8 sacks. He doesn't do well in coverage. He's got to increase his effectiveness in coverage for the Clemson Tigers this season. But in terms of getting into the backfield and making big plays, he can do that, and he's improved downfield as a tackler as well. At number 3, we go to Oklahoma, and like Anthony, the last time this guy was on the field and we saw him in prime time, it was in a big way. Oklahoma's big upset in the Sugar Bowl against Alabama, 45-31. Eric Stryker, a big reason why. Coming off the edge, 10.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. Oklahoma's Eric Stryker is a big play guy. Bob Stoops says he's got such a feel for the game that even as a sophomore, he didn't want to tell him too much. He let this kid kind of make his way. He's got such a great feel for the game. He didn't want to overcoach Eric Stryker. Stryker, a big play guy for Oklahoma, and the Sooners, of course, we expect big things out of them this season. At number 4, we go out to the Pac-12 and Hayes Pollard out of USC. Hayes Pollard is a great kid. He's the type kid that everybody roots for. He's just a good kid. He's a fifth-year senior. He stuck around the program. Could have gone to the NFL. He had a big season last year, but with USC going to a new 3-4 defense, he's a sure tackler, and he's going to thrive in this defense. Wanted to check out his stats here for sure. 94 total tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, and again, great instincts, great technique, and he's a sure tackler. Hayes Pollard out of USC at number 4. Going to be interested to see the production out of Trey DePriest out of Alabama at number 5. So the situation in Tuscaloosa is C.J. Mosley played that will linebacker position that got all the glamour and all the glory, and it has all that space to play. Trey DePriest was very productive in that Mike linebacker position, but he had all that traffic to deal with, had to shed blocks, had less space that he was accountable for. Alabama taking a bit of a risk here because they take DePriest, who's the best Mike linebacker in the country, they move him to the will position to take over from Mosley, and he's got to play in all that space. It's going to be funneled to him. So his stats could go up after having 65 total tackles last season, but he's going to have to be more athletic. He's going to have to play more in coverage. He's going to have to play and show more athleticism from sideline to sideline for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Trey DePriest, again, moving from the Mike linebacker to C.J. Mosley's departed will linebacker position at Alabama. All right, at number 6, we go to the ACC and Denzel Perryman out of Miami. The numbers are huge for this kid. He's got all the sizables and the measurements to go to the NFL and be an impact player. just coming off his junior season. The NFL Draft Advisory Board had him rated as a third-round grade at that point. In one particular game against the Florida Gators, Miami won that game. It was said of Denzel Perryman by an NFL scout in his scouting report that the kid was impossible to block in that particular game. 108 total tackles, second in the ACC, 5 tackles for loss for Perryman coming into his senior season at Miami. It's interesting that we go to number 7 at Duke, Kelby Brown. Can't believe that we've had a Duke player in the top 10 at any position, but this is a new era of Duke football under David Cutcliffe. Kelby Brown had his best game against Miami, 17 total tackles as the Blue Devils came back from 10 down to win that one 48-30, and one of the big wins in the history of the program. Kelby Brown had 120 total tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 2 picks last season. You got to really root for this kid because he not only plays at Duke and says he was told many times by many people he was stupid for going to Duke, but he also is coming off 2 torn right knee ACLs, and he's that productive. Kelby Brown at number 7 out of Duke. All right, at number 8, we go from a kid that's very workmanlike in Kelby Brown and very sound fundamentally to a complete freak athlete. And I mean freak athlete. Fox Sports has named Bernard McKinney on its all-freak team, all college football freak team. Bernard McKinney out of Mississippi State. He had 70 tackles last year, 102 the year before. He did miss a few games. They cut down on the stats production for McKinney. Checking out other stats here, 3.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. Again, McKinney at 6'5", 245, has NFL written all over him, but we want to see more out of his athleticism turn into production at the collegiate level at Mississippi State as the Bulldogs look to be the dark horse in the SEC Western Division. We stay in the SEC with all that talent and go to Skai Moore out of South Carolina. Skai Moore really took advantage of a situation where South Carolina, we know about the front 4 talent, Kelsey Quarles, Chaz Sutton, and that guy Clowney at South Carolina, but their Achilles heel last season going into 2013 was definitely at linebacker, and Skai Moore, as a true freshman, took advantage. 56 tackles, led the team in tackles, 4 interceptions, including 2 in a very tight game against Wisconsin in the Capital One Bowl. You take away those 2 picks, maybe South Carolina doesn't win that game. They're much better, at least on paper, at the linebacker position coming into this season because Skai Moore has that freshman season under his belt. They also have K'Wan Lewis, and they also have Bryson Allen Williams as well for South Carolina. Then at number 10, I just couldn't make up my mind, and it's funny because both kids are from UCLA. Eric Kendricks, he's the captain. He's coming into his senior season. Want to get his stats right here. Eric Kendricks out of UCLA. He had 106 total tackles last season and 4 tackles for loss. Didn't get into the opposing backfield enough. Would like to see him do more impact playmaking at UCLA. But he is a closer. He comes with force. He's a sure tackler. He's very fast. He's exceptional in coverage. Eric Kendricks is the unknown UCLA linebacker despite being the captain on that team and being a very smart, heady linebacker who had 150 total tackles in 2012. Got to throw on Myles Jack. What did this kid do as a freshman was amazing. And most people look at the running back production. He didn't want to play running back that much, but Jim Mora needed him at running back, and he tore up defenses for like almost 10 touchdowns in 5 games, and it looked like he was carrying kids down the field every time he touched the football on offense. But he's going to focus on linebacker, and consider this. In 6 starts at linebacker last season, he had 76 total tackles at linebacker as a true freshman. Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. Also keep in mind that in those games, he was getting either rested because he was playing running back, so he was physically on the sideline, or got to consider if he was on the field after getting those carries at running back, he had to be a little bit gassed trying to play linebacker at UCLA. So expect his production at linebacker to go through the roof. We'll have to wait and see if they need him at running back, but I think UCLA set at running back despite some losses from last season. Top 10 linebackers, there they are. If we missed anybody, you'll probably find them in the description section at the bottom of the screen. Would love to hear what you have to say about the top 10 linebackers in college football right here on Mark Rogers TV.